What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special FusionCast, episode 22, where we're going to rank the home consoles. I'm your host, Fusion64, along with my esteemed co-host every week, Rebel Blood 80. How you doing, sir?
Great from the past, talking to you in the future. I'm doing great. How
Oh,
are you doing?
oh yeah, this is a very special episode. We're not live, but hey, it's going to be a great time. I've got a bunch of home consoles. We're going to rank them in a tier list from S all the way down to C, maybe even D actually. Uh, there's a lot of systems here we got to rank.
What about if you just toss the non-good ones off to the side, and we'll call that
That's what we're
below
gonna.
C?
That's what we're gonna do, basically. That's what we're gonna do. I have a whole bunch of systems from Nintendo, Sega, Xbox, PlayStation, Neo Geo Turbo. Uh, no PS5, no Xbox Series because we're only 3 years into those, not even.
They're current systems, and we're
Right.
not doing anything current. Even though the Switch is
This
current,
this
I consider the Switch a last-gen system.
it's on its last leg. I think we've gotten the basic picture of what the Switch is going to be, right?
Right. I
So
think this time next year it'll be okay including the Switch on this list. So it's okay today to
right,
include the Switch.
we're gonna play by our own rules here.
Right.
As you see, we've got a jumbled list of pictures here. So at the end of this show, this is probably gonna make some more sense, I think.
Yeah, it's overflowing right now. Our cup
It's
is
overflowing.
overflowing.
Yes, there's a lot of systems. There was a lot of work to do all this. Hey, so
And I didn't help at all either, did I? I made some demands.
you just made it harder on me. Where would you like to? Should we start with the good old NES?
We should, because I don't know about you, but that's where my gaming days started.
Mine started on the Atari, but I'm not putting the Atari on here. That was where my serious gaming started with the NES. Where would you like to put the NES? I think this is either an A or a B, and I don't know where I would. We could obviously change it, but there's some great games on the NES. It's a great system. Uh,
You know, nostalgia goggles say it has to go in S tier, right?
right,
Because
totally. It
even though it
does.
wasn't your first system, it was my first system. Well, actually, it was my dad's, but it was the first video game system that I played, so I've got a lot of great memories for it. But not all those games were great, especially
No.
this was before we were, well, I didn't have any access to like video game magazines at the time, and there was no internet coverage of games, so you would go to the local Toys R Us and they would have a little ticket there that you would pull off and bring to the counter, and it was like renting movies back in the day where you were buying games based on the cover of boxes.
And it was very deceptive.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Take a look at the Mega Man cover.
Yep, I know. Yeah. Oh, this game looks
That
awesome. It's
bad old
trash.
guy with a gun.
Yeah, totally.
I think it needs to go in the A.
I think so too. We'll put it in the A for right now. It was a great system. I absolutely loved it. Tons of great games. That's where you got your Mario's, your Zeldas. There's a lot of great third-party games in there. I think the A is pretty good for this system.
How many games can you go back to now though and play and say they're great now? Like I had games when I was younger that I thought were fantastic.
Right.
Like Adventures of Bayou Billy, I thought that game was amazing. But if I was to play that game today, I would think it's utter crap. And it is garbage. It's a bad game.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones on there still, but there's a lot of ones that have not aged well at all. I mean, a lot of the stuff on the virtual console is cool, but a lot of the Nintendo stuff holds up pretty well. But a lot of the third party stuff does not.
Yeah, I could say it could go to a B, but
We'll keep it at A
pure
right now. I think we'll keep
nostalgia,
it at A. Yeah, I don't think it's
keep
a
to
pretty
that
good
A.
place.
Yeah.
Like I said, we can bump it. We're gonna kind of like group the categories S, A, B, C in order, like of which one you think. I guess if there's another A, we'll see if I'm going to keep that in order to see which is Nintendo better than this other A. So I guess that's what we'll kind of go through here too.
What was your first Nintendo game?
Man, I don't know if it's either Mario or Punch Out.
Ooh, Punch Out is good. Punch Out
It's
still holds up.
actually like my grandma got it from my dad, and my uncle got RC Pro Am. He got a Nintendo for Christmas with RC Pro Am. My dad got the Nintendo with Punch Out, so it might have been Punch Out actually. Mike Tyson's
My
Punch
first
Out.
game was Super Mario Brothers with Duck Hunt. It was the
Yeah, we
two
might
games
have.
in
I think we
one.
might have gotten that one too. It was either one of those three games really. So that I played first. Uh do we go? Where does the Neo Geo? Is that a 16-bit?
That is a 16-bit system and more.
Okay,
It's an amazing system, but I never knew anyone that had it.
let's go. Let's go with the Genesis next. Then I think the Genesis came out before the Super NES.
It did. It came out while the Nintendo was still being sold,
Right.
and that was part of its success initially. Was because the only other thing on the market was the Nintendo, and then you had your first 16-bit system, and Sega was really pushing those big graphics. That's why a lot of the early games have really large characters,
Yeah.
large sprites, and they weren't really great games, but they definitely looked a
Look
little bit better
They
than.
look better. Yeah. Like I
And then
remember
it
the
wasn't
X-Men
until
game. I was like, oh my god, the graphics on this X-Men game look amazing. The Spider-Man game, like, yeah, they did. That's a good point. They did have their characters much bigger, so they did look a lot better.
yeah, and it wasn't until the Super Nintendo came out that they really had to start making better. Well, they made good games at the start, but the Super Nintendo had to force them into making games like Sonic, you know?
Right. Streets of Rage.
For me, the Sega Genesis, because that was actually my second system, is S tier.
Ooh, wow.
But
Wow. We're gonna put S tier. We'll leave it in the S tier. I don't. Well, I'll give you this one. I would not put this in the S tier. I don't think that's Sega's best system.
it is for sure their best system.
You know what? Maybe there are some good games in here. If this is the S, this is probably the lowest of the S tiers of the S's in here.
Yeah, you could put it all the way to the right if you want.
I'm gonna put it like hanging off
Borderline.
of the S, like for dear life. Can I like tilt this thing and like it's hanging off of for dear life in the S's right here, basically. Yeah. We're gonna put this like on an angle here in the S's.
Did you have a Sega Genesis?
I did. I got one later on, but I mean, I had some friends that had it. I played it. It was a great. It's a really great system. Uh, oh man, you know what? The sports games on there were really good, and I feel like they were faster on the Genesis than they were on the Super NES. There's some good stuff on there.
Genesis did have really good sports games.
They did.
That was one thing that they had over the Nintendo and Super Nintendo for a while. Because at launch, the Super Nintendo really didn't have sports games.
No. The Super NES has to go in the S tier. I don't think you can not put that in the S tier.
I put it in the S tier too. But it's not my favorite system.
It's got to go.
My sister had one
above the Genesis, I think. I'm gonna put it ahead of the Genesis by like a tiny bit.
All right,
and
that's about right. Because
not a full console, not a full console ahead of. It's like a quarter to a half a console ahead of the Genesis.
You got it right though, because you got the Genesis on top of the Super Nintendo.
Okay.
That's the right way. That's the way things are supposed to be.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I mean, dude, Mario World. I think that there's a lot of games on this, a few games on the SNES that nothing on the Genesis touches. Mario World, Zelda: Link to the Past, Super Metroid, Mario Kart. There's a lot of really great games on the SNES that the Genesis doesn't touch. Donkey Kong Country.
I'm not going to argue that with you. I do
I'm gonna
love me a Super Nintendo.
pull it ahead a little more. There we go.
Some of the best RPGs that JRPGs ever made are on that system.
Totally. Final Fantasy's Earthbound. What is it? Is it Chrono Trigger or Chrono Cross? Is it
Chrono
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 Cross?
Trigger.
Chrono Trigger. Yep. Yeah. I let me just keep sliding it over here a little bit. Yeah, I think the SNES. Yeah, for me, the SNES is way better than the Genesis. I think we're highly overrating the Genesis, but I don't want this to be a huge argument. So I'm gonna throw you some bones. You just got to remember, we got to throw me some bones here. I'm gonna give you your gimmies early in this because there might be some arguments later on here.
I'll take it.
The Neo Geo or the TurboGrafx 16.
So the TurboGrafx 16, you probably have no nostalgia for, do you?
No, these are for sure going to be at the bottom of the barrel. Like they might not even be on the screen by the time we're done here. So
So a lot of people like the TurboGrafx 16 a lot. It had a lot of really good games on there, a lot of really good shoot 'em ups,
shmups.
shmups. For me, that's the TurboGrafx 16 is like a B tier because I never owned one, but I did play one. Actually, borrowed one from a friend of mine that had the CD attachment, and that CD attachment was really cool. It was before I played anything like Sega CD wise or anything like that, and the music, adding CD quality music to games was awesome.
I played Bonk's Adventure, and I remember that being really great. But other than that, no, I have no nostalgia for Turbo. And Neo Geo, we're not even putting the Neo Geo staying over in the D tier because I'm going to shrink it really tiny. It's going to stay up here in the D tier next to my logo.
You know, I love Neo Geo games, and it really should at least be in the A tier, but I never owned one. And I don't know anybody that could own one. That system was like $600-700 when it came out.
We cannot put that in the A tier. We're just going to
But
just close out this window here and go to bed if we're going to try and put that in the A tier.
no, you can keep it in D tier. I'm fine with that because
Okay.
I've never played one, and then
Okay.
I am never going to play an actual system because even now they're just climbing in price nonstop.
You are getting all of your wins here early, so you're going to be in trouble later on here. Are
Maybe not.
we're done. That's the 16-bit era. Whew. Man, I'm conceding a lot here. I am conceding a lot here. Sega Saturn. Where are we at in the Sega Saturn? I think this has got to go in the B tier.
I agree with that.
I mean, I would almost maybe even throw it in the C tier.
Oh, there's a lot of really good games on it, though.
There is, but they abandoned it really early. I like the Saturn, but they abandoned it really early.
You put that extra memory card in there, and there was some really good Capcom fighting games on there.
They also had some really good sports games on there on Sega Saturn.
It was also the first system with a 3D controller, with a 3D analog controller that you needed to play Nights into Dreams.
We're not hardly rating the high, or we're a little too easy on these systems. I don't know. I do like the Saturn. It's good. Daytona. It wasn't Sega Rally on there. World Series
Virtual
Baseball,
Fighter.
Virtua Fighter. Yeah. One of my close friends had the Saturn. I had the PlayStation, so it was a battle. Let me tell you, that was where the console wars those days.
I don't agree with that. I think Sega made some really bad decisions with that system, and that's what cost them.
Yeah, they
their
did. They came out
competitive
early,
edge.
and that's where they started to lose all like their custom. Well, I think probably started with the 32X, releasing the 32X, and then like what is it, a year later they released the Saturn.
Yeah, there was some mis or non-communication between Sega of America and Sega of Japan, and
Yeah.
Sega of Japan was getting kind of jealous of Sega of America, so they developed the Sega Saturn while Sega of America was trying to push the 32X, and then they just came out and dropped it, and it was like, here you go. And it was kind of overpriced at the time, I think, which is why Sony came out and what did they say, $199, and just did a mic drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many bad decisions with that system, and it just continued forward.
I had a 32X. I got it for Doom, the Doom in the Star Wars game, and a name NBA Jam.
Oh, that was a. I think that wasn't it. It was a good version of NBA Jam, was it
It
not?
was,
I
yes,
don't remember.
it was a good version. Yeah,
I know I played it. I just don't remember it was because there's so many different versions of that NBA Jam.
there is. I'm okay with Saturn for right now at B tier. We might be moving a lot of these around, anyways. But for right now, we could put it at the B tier. It did have a lot of good games on it. They killed it too early, and they lost a lot of consumer confidence. Uh, I think the PlayStation 1 has to go in the A tier.
Yeah, I could almost argue for S tier, but
You could. I wouldn't say it's close to being the best PlayStation, but I don't think it is. Is that if we're putting it in the A tier right now? I think that's got to go ahead of the NES, maybe, right? Because those games
for me
hold
it
up.
does.
Yeah, they hold up a lot better than the NES games.
I put a lot of hours into my
Yeah.
little gray box.
I mean, memories. Like I remember those were like the magical days. I remember getting the demo discs from the PlayStation magazine.
Hell yeah, that's when I really started buying those magazines was for those discs.
I remember getting Metal Gear Solid, and it was still in Japanese. Like, and playing the demo disc, and be like, "Oh my god, this is absolutely incredible."
I did not get that one, but if I was aware of it, that is definitely something I would have done back in the day.
Yep. Resident Evil. Oh man, Final Fantasy 7. We just
Silent
we
Hill,
just talked about we just played Twisted Metal on the PS5. I mean, that game was fun back in the day. You didn't know any better. You didn't know it controlled like
Battle
crap.
Arena, Toshiden.
Yep.
Disregard that. That game sucks. Ridge
But it was
Racer.
good at the time, though. It
Oh,
was good at the time. Tekken, all the Tekkens. Oh man, dude, what an awesome system! Just playing the
yes.
CDs in there. And then was that the one that had the little blocks like with the logo, or that might have been PS2, I think, in the memory cards. I didn't have a memory card at first, so I kept replaying the opening on Final Fantasy VII until I had enough money to buy one.
Man, that's rough.
Yeah, tell me about it.
That was also the era of buying those where I learned not to buy third party memory cards.
our third party controllers. Yeah, I got the
That
Mad
too.
Cats and stuff. Yeah.
But every single third party memory card I bought went bad almost immediately.
I never got the third party memory cards. I got a couple third party controllers, but
I
uh,
still have my PlayStation somewhere.
N64. We got to go to B tier for N64.
For me, it does because I never owned one, and there was very few games that I really enjoyed on there.
N64
Uh,
was really top heavy. Like it had a couple really amazing, like for the history, groundbreaking games, but there wasn't a ton. There wasn't a ton of third party support. Uh, I would put the 64 at the top of the B tiers for right now.
yeah,
I
I agree
think
with that.
I think just Mario 64, Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. Look at
Pilot
like games like
Wings.
Pilot Wings, Wave Race. Those games like they're like all time classics.
Yeah, but
Although
then
you know
you
what?
have a ton of games like Superman 64
Yeah,
and that Castlevania game
yeah,
where they were
totally. Yep.
trying to force the
3D.
3D.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Still think the
Although
NES has to go above the N64. I think N64 and B is good, but I would definitely put it above Saturn and. I mean, you did have it. It was like what the first system with 4 player is out of the box.
I do believe so, yeah.
I mean, yeah, there was some. I remember playing some great parties. GoldenEye, Mario
Oh yeah.
Kart, Star Fox. Like played 4 players.
GoldenEye could almost push it into the A tier for me.
You know what? I was just thinking. I'm putting it in the A tier at the end of A tier, though. I think. I think. I mean, we can always go back and change it, but I think just I'd say just the nature of the 4 player split screen. These games like GoldenEye, Mario Kart, Star Fox. I think that pushes it into A tier, just at the lower end, really.
It's teetering like
Yeah,
the
it's
Sega
teetering. It's
Genesis.
teetering. Yeah. All right. After that, do we got the Dreamcast 9999? Is that the Dreamcast?
So I owned a Dreamcast.
I did too. I had
I
a
really love the
I
Dreamcast.
owned a Japanese Dreamcast, and then when the U.S. version came out, I bought one and put the Japanese one back in the box and returned it to Target.
Really.
Yeah, I'm a scumbag. I'm sorry. Dude, that was like Sega's. They had all the awesome arcade games on Dreamcast. That was the birth of the 2K sports line. The Dreamcast was really good, man. They fumbled, they fumbled some stuff on there.
Yeah, I can't really pinpoint what they did wrong to get such a low adoption rate of the system or why they gave up so soon because they came out swinging with games like Soul Calibur,
Yeah,
Marvel vs. Capcom 2,
yeah.
Seaman.
I think it started with like the 32X and then with the Saturn where they had no people didn't have confidence in the brand really.
For me, the Dreamcast is S tier.
Woo! So we're gonna put it behind the Genesis, right?
No, it's even before the Genesis because I had oh man, well I still have
I told you
a
that.
ton
I
of
didn't. I say that the Dreamcast was the best Sega system.
yeah, and I said no, the Genesis was, but they're like both of them are tied in my heart.
We're not putting the Dreamcast above the Super NES.
Because
I'm
after
sorry.
the failure of the 32X, which why don't you have that on this list?
We're not putting the 32X in there. I can't.
The,
We got to bump the Genesis down to the A tier,
okay, that's fine because I had way more fun with my Dreamcast than the Sega
and
Genesis.
the Genesis can't be above the PlayStation One.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too.
Let's see here.
So many great memories with the Sega Dreamcast. I had 4 controllers. I had 2 of the guns. House of the Dead 2 was amazing.
Awesome. That game was badass, dude.
That game even allowed you to play it single player with 2 guns at the same time, so you were like dual wielding. It was awesome.
I think I'll forever have that Marvel vs. Capcom theme song in my head, stuck in my head from playing that on the Dreamcast.
You should make that your like channel's theme song.
It's probably copyrighted.
I want to take you
All
for a
right.
drive
Uh,
or ride.
a rider drive. I don't know. There was a on NBA 2K. I could nail like full court shots all the time. You had to like hold the shoot button down and kind of jump in the air and then like right before you hit the ground like release it, and I would like beat my friend like on last second shots and he'd get pissed off at me about it.
On NFL 2K, I don't remember which way. It might have been 2K1. Uh, I created a center that was as tall as you could make him, and he was gigantic. He was so tall that you couldn't throw the ball over his head, right?
Yeah.
The quarterback couldn't pass the ball. But then I made a running back that was as short as the game allowed me to make him. And he was so short that he could run through the center's legs and score touchdowns every time, going right up the middle, right underneath the guy's legs while the guy was blocking. It was amazing. Man,
Remember that Ready to Rumble boxing game? Did you have that?
I did. I think I got rid of it because the original release had a glitch in it, and I think I had the original release. So I'm not sure if I still have that disc anymore or not. But that game was fun.
Sega Bass Fishing. That game was awesome.
Oh yeah, I never got that controller. That controller was really awesome. The fishing controller.
Yeah, I did not have that either. But yeah, dude, I mean, just a stellar arcade lineup on Sega Dreamcast. Oh, let's see. Now we are on
Capcom.
to Capcom. Yeah.
Capcom ruled that system, man.
Yeah. Resident Evil Code Veronica.
And all the fighting games were Power Stone. What it was? They had a game called Cannon Spike or something like that. That was really good.
Oh yeah, Power Stone. Yeah, Forgot about that.
And now I want to go into storage and whip out my Dreamcast.
Whip it out. Whip it out.
Hopefully my VMUs still work.
The VMU, baby.
I even played with the little VMU, that Sonic game where you collected the little critters, and then you could download them into the VMU and play games on the VMU to level them up.
Oh, nice. PS2, I think, has to go in S tier. I think that is, you could make a case that's the best PlayStation system.
It is the greatest video game system of all time.
Okay, we are going all the way to the top right there.
100%. It's why the PlayStation 1 is down in A tier, because the PlayStation 2 surpasses it.
Yeah, I mean, the DVD player, not the strongest launch, but I feel like that first Christmas, do you remember that first, like 2000, was it Christmas of 2000, holiday 2001 or 2000, no, it came out 2001, so holiday of 2002, it had like Final Fantasy 10, Metal Gear Solid 2, was that the year they had Onimusha? There was like a Grand Theft Auto 3. I know I'm missing a few.
Controversy.
What was that?
The controversies. Remember the controversy with Grand Theft Auto 3?
Yeah. There was it had all, I mean, it launched, all the Grand Theft Auto games launched on PlayStation 2. The Xbox didn't get them till later. So that was like the Grand Theft Auto machine. You know, they had all
You
the
could
sports
argue,
games.
because the PlayStation 2 existed and Grand Theft Auto existed, Ubisoft became what they are with open world games.
Yeah.
Can we go a podcast without talking about Ubisoft?
No,
I don't think so.
No, you love them. I think you're like a closet Ubisoft fan, 100%.
I'm a closet Ubi.
Yeah, totally.
But we have open world games today because of the PlayStation 2.
Yep, 100%. Games like Ratchet and Clank, God of War 1 and 2, awesome games. Twisted Metal
Killzone.
Black. The first Killzone was on there, yeah. SOCOM.
It wasn't that great though.
SOCOM was awesome, yeah. I even had EverQuest on it. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I enjoyed a little bit of it.
I wanted to get that. I was playing that on PC, and I didn't know what I was doing then either on PC even, but hey, I played it.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Some great sports games. Once the 2K games came to PlayStation 2, they had like the best of both worlds.
I really liked the Def Jam games.
Oh, Def Jam was awesome, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Def Jam Vendetta. Yeah, what a freaking system, man. They just had everything. No weaknesses really there. I mean, it was the least powerful of the three of that generation, but it didn't matter. Because all of the best games were really on there.
Was that generation, and it was slightly better than the Dreamcast. But I think
I forget the Dreamcast existed.
Colors. At least the games seem more colorful.
Yeah, I mean,
PlayStation was a lot of darks and.
I always forget about that and don't even count it. I was just talking about like GameCube, PlayStation, and Xbox there.
Well,
I totally forget.
Sony came out with the PlayStation 2, and then the Dreamcast immediately died.
It died.
Yeah.
It died a slow and painful death. GameCube. Where are we putting GameCube? In the B or the C?
I think it's an A, and I think it knocks the Nintendo 64 down to a B.
Oh, wow. Really? I don't know, man.
There was way better games on the GameCube than there was on the Nintendo 64.
There was more. I think you've got the worst Mario on there.
But then you also got.
You could argue it's got two Zeldas. Well, that the 64's got Ocarina and Majora. Are you gonna take Ocarina and Majora over Wind Waker and I guess Twilight Princess late? You got Metroid Prime. You've got 4-player capability. I struggle putting GameCube over Nintendo 60. Well, you got a really great Smash Brothers on GameCube.
Yeah, you have a really good Mario Kart on GameCube. You got a
really great F-Zero. Really great Mario Kart. Oh, man.
Was there a Wave Race game on there?
Yeah, you got the better Wave Race game. You got all of those.
Oh, the F-Zero game was really good.
The Rogue Squadron games.
Some say the best.
The Rogue Squadron games.
Well, Rogue Squadron 3 kind of sucks.
Wasn't the first one?
3's
Is
The
it?
first one was on Nintendo 64. The second one was, I want to say it was a launch GameCube game, and I
Yeah.
have that disc.
Okay.
That's in my cabinet right now. The more reasons why I want to get the HDMI output for that GameCube. Anyways,
Luigi's
the
Mansion is
third
really
one,
good.
yeah, that was really good. I gotta get the Luigi's Mansion 3. Come to think of it, uh, the third Rogue Squadron, they tried to change it up, and you would get out of like your TIE fighter or your X-wing and stuff like that, and move on foot. Oh, it was awful,
Hmm.
so bad.
I think
Skies of Arcadia on the GameCube is amazing JRPG.
I think you're right on the GameCube over the N64. Now that we've kind of, I
Yeah,
think
the
you're right.
overall
I have a
quality,
lot.
even the third-party games were way better
I think
on the
I
GameCube.
have more nostalgia for the Nintendo 64, but I think the GameCube is better by a hair.
GameCube is the first system that I had some games stolen from me too. Well, it's hard to say that they were stolen. I lent them to a guy, and then uh, he never talked to me again. So
That sucks.
I consider that stolen.
I I,
Yeah,
I
the
would too. Yeah, I
Smash
would.
Brothers was stolen, and there was a couple others that I
Uh,
don't
yeah.
remember exactly.
What else was on GameCube that was really amazing? There's way more stuff on there. I mean, it had way more third parties, so like you didn't have the droughts that the N64 had. I mean, remember the N64 launched with two games, Mario and Pilot Wings, and like the
Exactly, and it has.
third game came out in December, which is
Oh, it had the Resident Evil remakes, the Resident Evil Zero, Resident Evil One
oh
remake.
yeah,
It
definitely.
had the Metal Gear Solid remake,
Yeah.
the Liquid.
Beautiful
Was it
Joe.
Beautiful Joe
Resident
was
Evil
really good.
4.
Right, that came out there first.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's easy. That's easy actually then now. Okay.
Yes, way better games.
Good thing you're on this podcast cuz I would have put an N64 for GameCube and that would have been wrong. So
Yeah, then I would have had to been in the comments just angrily commenting, getting banned.
what are we going to do with this big old chalky Xbox here? Where are we going to put that at? It's not ahead
Well,
of the GameCube, I don't think.
no, not for me, but man, was Halo 1
It's
and 2 really good.
right. It's in that 64 Sega Saturn area, I think.
And it had some cool things you could do. Uh, like in the Burnout games, you could actually burn music songs to the hard drive and then play those songs while you race instead
Yep.
of the game music.
I did that for Tony Hawk, one of the Tony Hawk games. I was playing Nickelback
Oh man.
while I'm playing Tony Hawk. Oh man, that's funny. I mean, yeah, it was an important system. It had the Ethernet cable, like all the online stuff. Xbox Live was the birth of Xbox Live.
Yeah, I'm fine with it being in B tier. I actually do own an Xbox, and that's another system I got to go pull out of storage. They have a problem where capacitors explode on them and systems can go bad, and I don't know what version system I have, so I've got to.
there, there's a really there's a lot of bad games on Xbox too.
Yeah, but there's a lot of off the
There's a lot
wall
of
stuff too
yeah,
that like.
Fusion Frenzy.
Oh, that game's so good. Fusion Frenzy 2 sucks though.
I got the Xbox and GameCube kind of like neck and neck, really. Not the GameCube, the Xbox and the N64 neck and neck, I think.
Yeah, I'm fine with that because Halo definitely destroys GoldenEye in the first-person shooter
It does.
arena.
It does.
So many nights of playing that game. Oh, it even had Knights of the Old Republic. How could we forget that
Yeah,
on
KOTOR.
the Xbox? Yeah,
Unreal Championship. That was like the first game that I think was like that I played at least on Xbox Live.
it was one of the first games I got actually. What was it? Unreal Championship 2003.
Something like that. Yeah. Um,
And you could still play a lot of those games today because of
backwards compatibility.
Xboxes. Yeah. I wish they would keep that list growing, bastards.
The Xbox 360, I think, has to go in S tier.
For me, it does, yeah.
I think that's
While
got
I liked the Xbox, I thought it was cool. It was mature, but the 360, I put way more time into my 360 than I did my PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1, any other system. I spent so much time on that damn thing. A lot of people did.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
it's the best-selling Xbox of all time.
Well, I mean, because it failed on everybody, and then they had to buy new ones multiple times. So
Yeah, how many did you own? I owned...
three, I think, or no,
At this
yeah, three.
point, I own between 5 and 6. I can't remember the exact number. A couple of them went bad, so I just started chunking them in dumpsters. I was getting sick of... Because
That's funny.
by the time they went bad, I had already sent one back a couple of times, and the warranty was done, and I was just like, just buy a new one. I actually have an Xbox 360 hooked up right now.
Nice. Achievements, Xbox Live, Xbox Summer of Arcade. Remember Summer of Arcade? That was an awesome thing that they should have never got rid of.
Yeah, bring it back, Xbox.
Geometry Wars, like they had all the big third party exclusives. Like, and I think of BioShock, I think of Xbox 360. When I think of Mass Effect, I think of Xbox 360.
Gears of War,
Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, the first one. This is where Call of Duty really came into its own on the Xbox 360. Like, such an amazing system.
Halo 3.
Yep. I got that.
Not to mention Netflix.
Netflix, yeah. I love playing Netflix. It was a great game. I think the
Best level Netflix and chill.
I got the Xbox 360 in between the PS2 and the SNES.
For me, the 360 would go before the PlayStation 2, but I can understand where you got it. Why you have it there.
You just said it was PlayStation 2 is the greatest system of all time.
It is. I put so many hours into my 360, but I don't think it's better than the PlayStation 2. I'm just contradicting myself left and right here, aren't I?
You are, yeah.
Because I have so much love for video games.
The Wii.
I think the Wii is B.
Is B. Where does it go in B, though? I
would put it at the top of B, maybe.
Man, I don't know.
I mean, what are your thoughts on the Wii? I have a Wii. My wife
also do have a
waited
Wii.
in line for hours to get me a Wii. There's so much crap.
There is so much garbage on the Wii. But like, man, the impact that the Wii had on like the casual public cannot be ignored.
Right, but what about us non-casuals?
I know. I would almost put the 360 and the N64 above the Wii.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I like my Wii. Wii Sports was awesome.
It was.
The Mario Kart was really cool.
But now that I'm like going through collecting them, I'm like, man, there really wasn't that many must-have games for the Wii, or at least nobody on Facebook Marketplace has them because they all have the same shit that I don't want to play.
You know, one thing about the Wii though is if you were to have the same game, because the Wii is still around the PS2 era, like it's in respects of like, because it wasn't HD, right?
No.
So it wasn't. I don't really count it as like competing against the Xbox 360.
I mean, it was the same generation as those, so it launched.
It was, but how can you say it competed against them when the games could not look as good as them?
Well, I mean, it didn't.
But the point I was trying to make was like you would have the same game on or you would have a game on the Xbox 360 or PS3, and then you would have the same title on the Wii, but it would be a completely different game.
Right, totally. I mean, it competed against those two because it came out at the same time as them. I mean, it can't really compete against something else.
Think back to how the games looked on it, though, and then playing the PS3 or the Xbox 360, and then how can you say that they were the same era? I mean, Nintendo always goes by the beat of their own drum.
Well, it's not competing against the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox because those systems are already long gone. So it's got to be competing against something. So
yeah, the graphics just remind me of PS2 graphics is all.
Right. You're too focused on the graphics.
I am. and not focus enough on the waggle controls.
I've
Waggle, waggle, waggle.
I've got to. I'm gonna switch the Wii and put it ahead of the.
Oh, so you like waggling?
I'm gonna put the Xbox back and put the Wii and then 64 neck and neck.
Okay, you waggler.
The PS3 is easily the worst PlayStation system.
By far, I've never owned one. Did you own one?
Yeah. I mean, it's got some great games. God of War 3 is amazing. Uncharted series, The Last of Us. But for me, it's the worst of the PlayStation systems.
The crap of us.
For me, it got hacked.
Yours got hacked?
No, I remember the network did. Remember?
Oh yeah. My roommate at the time, he had bought one, and it was around that time that the system got hacked, and he couldn't use it online or anything like that. Yeah, that was a really dark time for Sony.
I'm dropping TurboGrafx to see. I'm sorry, I have to. Saturn, Xbox, PS3, and then Wii, Nintendo 64.
I agree.
The UI, I mean, people like the UI and the PS3. I didn't think it was great. Remember, to go to the store, you had to go to like the web browser, and that's how it took you to the PlayStation Network store. Remember, it launched with its shitty 6-axis controller, and then they finally started making the DualShock 3, I guess. I just did not care too much for the PS3. It needed to, like, when you installed games, it took forever. It did have good. Metal Gear Solid 4 was really great. I mean, it did have some great games. I just didn't care for it that much.
It did have a Blu-ray drive.
It did. It did have a Blu-ray drive, yes.
And the original models were backwards compatible with both PS1 and PS2.
Is PS3 better than the Wii?
I don't think so.
Okay. Just had to
But
throw it out
I
there.
never owned a PS3, so I'm not going to argue too strong.
I just had to throw that out there. I don't know. You could say that it was, but it's hard to ignore that cultural impact of the Wii. I'm not going to argue against it.
Yeah, I'm looking at PS3 games here. Nothing's really standing out. I mean,
there are some really great games. I just don't think it's better than any of the other PlayStations. I mean, you could argue that it's above the 64 and the Wii, but
Resistance was cool.
Yeah, it was cool. I just feel like those other systems have more cultural, like, and historical impact. The cultural historical impact than the PS3, really.
I mean, that's not to say that I'm not keeping my eyes out for.
That was to get a second job to afford
decent used PS3.
Yeah.
If I could find one at a decent price, and that's actually been well maintained, because they have problems now. If you're looking to buy one, they're not lasting. We're getting into the systems that just don't last anymore.
Right.
Remember the Super Nintendo? You could chuck that thing across the room.
Oh, hell yeah.
Plug it in and it would work.
The only thing that's going to happen is it's going to change. It's going to get discolored on you. That's it.
Right. Stop smoking around your Super Nintendo.
Okay, next up we got the Wii U. I don't think we can put. I mean, there are some great first-party games on the Wii U, but you talk about droughts. You didn't have a game drought unless you lived through the Wii U game droughts, man.
I own a Wii U. I like my Wii U, but it's a C tier.
It is a C tier, yeah. It's
best game
above the
on the Wii U,
but it's a C.
Super Mario Maker.
I mean, they've got Bayonetta, but like it didn't really get any games for like 6 months after it launched. Like it was rough out there for the Wii U, the poor little guy.
Mario Kart was good. Obviously, because they're still using the same damn Mario Kart.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, there's really very little third-party support on there. It did have a good Nintendo Land was fun. The Wii U eShop was fun. Remember Miiverse? Miiverse was so much fun. Miiverse was awesome. You could go on there. It was like message boards.
Yeah, Nintendo really should bring that back. That was cool.
That was. Then they got to monitor it and Like there'd be people drawing peepees and all kinds of shit on there.
What's wrong with that?
There's a guy on there that would just comment on everybody's post. I'd say, "Nice water, nice water." There was a nice water guy. I don't know if you remember that guy.
No, I don't remember much of that at all. Zombie U was kind of cool on that
It was
system.
Zombie U's neat. Zombie U's a neat game. I did like Zombie
It
U.
used the pad. See, the problem is the gimmick on the system was that pad, that
Yeah,
device, and not all games use that pad.
and you,
But a lot of times you always had to use that pad. Oh, the Wonderful 101 was on the Wii U. I
yep.
forgot about that. That was good.
You couldn't leave the room with the gamepad, or else it would lose connection.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that.
I had the TV stuff
There's a
set
couple
up
times.
on there. The TV stuff set up to where like I had all my apps, and I would like, "Ooh, what am I going to watch today?" Let me click on my Wii U.
Yeah, I never went through with that. I learned because I got my Wii U after I got my X-Bone.
Oh,
So I had already gone through the hooking up your TV.
that was when the industry.
Super Mario 3D World was really good.
Yeah, it was great. That was when everybody was was into like the second screen experience for games. Remember, every game had like an app that you could download on like your iPad or your tablet or whatever, and like, oh, you use this for the second screen experience. Ubisoft did a ton of that stuff.
Yeah, you don't have to mention them because I'm playing. Well, I haven't played the crew in a little while now, but a couple weeks. But when you play the crew, it still onslaughts you with that. Hey, download our phone app, and you could click on stuff to do within the app. Well, why can't I just do that in the game?
Right, totally.
They also had that one Monolith game on there that was really good. That was the whole reason I wanted to get the Wii U. Can't remember what the hell it was called now. Xeno something. They name all their games Xeno.
The Xbox One, I think, is a C tier console.
Yep. I put a lot of hours into that. Not as many as I did my 360, but man, did that system fail.
It's the worst of the Xbox. It's above the Wii U. Would you have the Saturn above the Xbox One?
Probably not.
So then do we bump the Saturn down to C then?
Yeah, I think so.
In between the Wii U and the Xbox One?
Because if the Xbox is down in C tier for letting us down, then the Saturn has to be down there too.
Right.
Because there are really good games on the Xbone. I have really good games on the Xbone that play way better on my Series X now. And the Xbox One X was actually a really good system, but the original launch Xbone, man, why did they underpower that thing?
Kinect. They had to prepackage with Kinect, and then they abandoned it. Was it about a year after it launched? They abandoned it. Just a bunch of mixed messaging and.
I actually like that Kinect. I thought that Kinect was cool.
It had its purposes, but then they just like abandoned it, and it was like, all right, well, I got this thing that doesn't do anything anymore. So
I still have my Kinect.
I thought the Xbone was okay, but I can't argue that the Xbox One isn't the worst Xbox platform.
There's another worse Xbox platform?
No, I'm just saying I can't argue that it's not the worst Xbox platform.
Yes. Yeah, the OG Xbox is cooler than the Xbox One because it had no first-party support.
Yeah, no.
OG Xbox had a ton of first-party stuff
and like exclusive stuff like Ninja Gaiden. That was when they were still doing like the third-party deals, and they went out and got a ton of stuff. So
yeah, they really failed us.
The Halo games worked on Xbox, the original Xbox.
Yeah.
So the PlayStation 4 is a tough one for me to rank because I feel like it is the sequel to the Xbox 360.
I did not have a PS4 long enough. I don't have any real fondness for it. I do own a PS4. I still have the PS4. There's really good games on there.
It has all of every great third-party game is on the PlayStation 4. The first-party stuff, are you going to argue that you didn't. I mean, Spider-Man, God of War. You're not a huge Horizon fan, but it's got Uncharted, The Last of Us, Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima,
Yeah, all those
Bloodborne.
games that play exactly the same as the other game you
They
just
don't
named.
play the same. Stop
All
it.
those Ubisoft inspired open world video games you're talking about.
I'm
Um,
going to. I think the
is a huge
PlayStation
impact.
4. Yeah, it was a huge impact.
Yeah, I think it belongs in the S tier. It was the best selling console behind the PlayStation 2 until recently, right? Didn't the PS5 just take it over a little while ago?
No, the PS4, the PS2 is still the best selling console of all time.
Yeah, that's
PS4,
what I'm saying. It's
yeah,
behind the PS2.
it is. Yes, yeah. I don't think it's better than the PS2. I really don't. I mean, first
I
party
don't either.
wise, but there's still, I think the PS2 just holds a special place for me.
Me as well. Because
Uh,
the PS2 was just what I was just commenting about, where every game feels the same from first party from Sony. That wasn't the case in the PS2. They were
no,
experimenting.
yeah,
They
they had
were
all kinds of
releasing
different stuff. Yeah,
shit out there that was just off the wall, and you're like, "What is this?"
right, totally. Now we're on the Nintendo Switch. I think the Nintendo Switch is Nintendo's best system they've ever made.
Uh, yeah, I 100% agree with that. I want to argue for the Super Nintendo, but that would just be an argument for nostalgia only. But I do have a caveat. Which Nintendo Switch version are we talking about?
Oh, we're talking about the OLED.
If we're talking about the OLED, then yes. If we're talking about the other system, then no.
What, the original launch one?
You want to qualify why the Nintendo Switch is the only handheld on here?
Because it's a hybrid. It does the best of both worlds.
Fair enough.
It's it does home console gaming and handheld gaming.
It's got
Uh,
the dock.
it does have the dock. I mean, I don't know if I can put this as the number one. It's. I mean, there's.
Think the PS2 is better than the Nintendo Switch, to be honest.
I'm gonna put them neck and neck. I'm gonna cop out.
Yeah.
I put them neck and neck. You might be right with PS2. Damn it. It's better than the 360. I'm sorry. It's got to go up there.
I mean, out of all the systems, I probably put the most amount of time into the Xbox 360, but I was playing the same type of games on the 360, right? The PS2, my CD library of PS2 games, there's just so many different kinds of games. Like
There is.
they were really, really pushing the game design back then, and I don't feel like they're doing that anymore.
I can't play with my PS2 while I'm on the toilet, though, can I?
Well, sure you can.
Or when I'm on an airplane.
Well, sure you can.
Or on
Don't
a,
you remember that little bag that they had with like the battery power, and you like flip it open and there's a screen?
or on the rooftop with my friends and just take the controller apart while we're playing like Mario 6 or Mario Galaxy. Or not Mario Galaxy, which is what is the Mario on there? Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, but then you're just missing the point of this whole tier system. The Nintendo Switch is only here because it docks, right?
Right.
If you take it out of that dock, then it falls off this
It
list.
does everything though because it's everything in one.
Yeah, but it's no longer a
Oh,
normal
that's true. You're
console
right. Okay,
system
you're
once
right.
you
Yeah,
pull it.
once you pull it off the dock, I get. Yep, I get your point. I get your point. Okay. So I'll argue for a library. It has all of the Nintendo library. It has the Super NES. It
If you
has.
want to shell out more money, though.
Well, why wouldn't you though?
Well, I do because I want that
Uh,
stuff, but it sucks that they're putting it behind a paywall. I'd rather them do like the Wii system where every game was like a couple of bucks, $5, and you bought it and you own it.
yeah, the Wii does have all those game classics. That's true. It's got the
Or
best. It's got the best Zelda, and you can argue it has the best Mario. It has the two. Or you could argue it has the two best Zeldas. It has all of the Zeldas. So you could
it has the
argue
best Pikmin,
it has the best Pikmins. It has all the Pikmins.
all of the Pikmins.
It's got the best Mario Kart.
Does it have the best Metroid though?
Technically, it does, but Dread is really good. Um, it's got the best multiplayer in Splatoon, the best Smash. It's got the best indies.
Yeah, there is way
There is
more
a
variation in
ton of
Nintendo
indie
games.
games. A ton of indie games.
Some could say too many.
Oh, there's 100% too many. Yes.
It's very close to the Wii shovelware,
Oh no,
if
it's
not
past.
surpassing
It's
it at this
surpassed
point.
it easily. Yes. Uh, but I'm gonna. I guess we can concede the PS2. I guess we can keep the Wii, and not the Wii, the Switch at number 2. I feel like
I want to
that's
say the PS2 made me fall in love with gaming all over again when that came out.
really.
Yeah,
So are you?
'cause I had to have it.
So are you okay with the PS2 inching out the Switch, and then the 360, followed by the PS4, Super NES, Dreamcast? Then in A tier we got PlayStation 1, Sega Genesis, NES, GameCube. The NES is above the GameCube, correct?
I could put the GameCube above the NES. I think the NES is only there because it's nostalgia.
Let's get crazy. Why not? We'll put it above the NES. People will hate us for this, but that's fine. And then we got the Wii and the N64 tied at B, the B tier, followed by the PS3, then the original Xbox, the Xbox One in the C tier, followed by Sega Saturn, Wii U, TurboGrafx 16, and the Neo Geo is off in I don't give a fuck land.
I'm going to qualify that because you've never played a Neo Geo game, according to you.
You're right.
And because that system is damn near impossible to afford back then and even current day.
Okay.
But at least you could buy the games, and the games aren't too expensive.
You do that. I can't believe I didn't fight you harder on this Switch for PS2, but you did make a point that it technically shouldn't even be on here, but that's fair. Maybe Super Mario Wonder puts it over the top. This time next year, we do another one of these lists. Maybe the
Maybe.
Switch is. Maybe it's that Princess Peach game that's coming out next year. It's just so amazing. It just inches it past the PS2.
Yeah,
I doubt
bet.
it.
So where does the 3DO go?
3DO goes in the garbage can. My friend had a 3DO.
Aw.
I played it. Road Rash was fun on there, but that thing took forever to load.
Yeah. Yeah, it did.
And it was like
Oh, man.
$600, I think.
Yeah, it's over there with the Neo Geo and outrageous price.
So that's our tier list. I think we came up with a pretty good list here. What do you think?
For our opinions, yes.
Yes, for
and
our
if
opinions.
you disagree, let us know in the comments.
If you disagree, you're wrong. I'm sorry. Let us know in the comments, and we'll tell you you're wrong in the comments. So,
Yes. Start the wrong war.
thanks for watching,
Right,
everybody. We do this podcast, not the tier list, but we do our podcast every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern over on this channel. Make sure to hit that like button. Consider subscribing if you liked this list. Even if you didn't like the list, just consider subscribing.
Yeah, did we forget a system? Let us know.
Oh, we forgot some systems, but maybe we'll do a handheld one next. That'll probably be like 5 minutes, but the Switch
you
can
probably
go.
have more experience with the handhelds than I do.
Oh, for sure. The Switch can go on the handheld
Yeah.
one too.
Oh, that's just that's unfair at that point. It would have to be the Switch
It is
Lite.
unfair. Yeah, the Switch Lite. It's a great handheld. All right, that's it for now. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Tune in on every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Fusion 64, Rebel Blood 80. We are out of here.
Adios.